Okay, I've just watched Richard the Dick Coughlin's video. I can't remember what it's called. Maybe I should start this again. Okay, this is a video response to Richard the Dick Coughlin and his latest video, Dear Atheist Community. I'm doing this rather than mirroring it. I could mirror it, but I don't think many people are going to watch it on my channel that aren't already subscribed to Richard or to somebody else who's mirrored it. This whole thing seems to boil down to a lot of people who would regard themselves as free thinkers, but are all too keen to start telling everybody else that they're not militant enough. I've got to tell you, you can be one of those two things. You can be somebody who's going to go around taking a position and telling everybody else who doesn't adopt that same position they're not militant enough, or you can be a free thinker. But you can't be both. You know, being an atheist doesn't automatically grant you free thinker status. There's a saying in the UK that you can take the chav out the estate, but it's not so easy to take the estate out the chav. And just by becoming an atheist or losing your religion doesn't suddenly grant you free thinker status. Isaac Newton, as far as I'm aware, was a pretty fucking good free thinker. He was a devout man, and he was also an alchemist. Not a very successful one, but an alchemist. So the two things don't go hand in hand. But you know, I really hate this idea of you're not militant enough. There are places that I see it. I see it in Islam. 30% of young British Muslims, apparently, and this is young British Muslims, not aging Saudi Arabian Muslims, 30% of young British Muslims still believe that the penalty for apostasy should be death. Is that a sign of strength? Does that look to you like a sign of strength in what they believe? It doesn't to me. That to me looks like a sign of weakness, that you need to kind of bully people into maintaining their faith and punish people who don't. Ayaan Hirsi Ali, in her book Infidel, if you've never read that book, it is one of the most astonishing books you could ever read. She starts out as a Muslim living in devout Somalia. She moves to Kenya, which is less devout, and the villages there that she lives in live in fear of a literalist, fundamentalist imam coming along and seeding a more devout type of Islam. And it actually happens in a place where she lives. She sees the effects of this, of just one individual telling everybody that they're not militant enough. So if you're one of these people who's going around telling everybody that they're not being militant enough, that they're being too soft on these issues, well, by all means do that from a political standpoint, but don't do it in the name of atheism, because atheism is not a political position. And don't do it on the grounds that you're a free thinker, because being a free thinker is about making the arguments and then allowing the arguments to stand or fall on their own merits. It's not about bullying and browbeating people into adopting your position. And last but not least, I really need to point out that nobody is perfect. Nobody is right all the time, and nobody is an expert in all fields. I accept that Thunderfoot is an expert in his specific scientific field, although I don't know what that field is. Outside of that, he is a layperson. In all these fields that are being discussed, Pat Condell is a layperson. Dower Films is a layperson. Coughlin is a layperson. I am a layperson. None of us are experts in these kinds of things. Anybody can be wrong, and nobody should be above criticism, and nobody should be backed up purely on the basis that it's them that's making the argument. If you want to class yourself as a free thinker, look at the fucking argument, not who's making it, please.